So in the previous video, we have created this card layout and we have seen how to get that data and display it on the screen. So in this video, we'll implement the add and edit functionality. Before that, I observed one thing like this text is smaller on the final application and button is also smaller. So let's fix that. So instead of H1, I will use H2 here. And for the button, this button, I will use size equal to small. Now you can see these buttons and this heading is also small. Now this is all fine. Now let's work on the add new user functionality. So in the final application, if you see when I click on add new user, we are redirected to slash add route and here we get a new form. So we are using the same form for add also and when we click on edit. So add and edit both have the exact same form. Only difference is that during edit, we have this ID and we have the pre-populated information. So whatever ID I am clicking, let's say I'm clicking this Olivia. So when I click on this, its ID is different and Olivia information is pre-populated. So instead of creating separate forms for each of these pages, we can reuse the exact same form. So let's do that. So here inside the pages, inside components, I will create user form dot tsl. So this will be the form which will be common to both of the add pages as well as edit. So inside the add user, I will include this user forms. Close this, I'll make it one single line and let's import it. Now inside the edit user, here also I will include that user form. Let's import it. The only difference is that during edit, we identify that it's in edit mode. So I can add a prop here. So I can say is edit equal to true. But when you are passing any prop as with value of true or false, you don't need to assign true or false. It's by default considered as true. If you don't pass, if you want to make it false, then you can assign it as false directly like this. But if you want to pass it as true, you don't need to specify any value. Now here we are getting error because we need to specify this component is accepting this prop. So inside user form, I can create an interface because we are using TypeScript. So you can also use type if you want. I can say user form props. So some people use type, some use interface. It's up to you. So what we different so here we need this is edit prop. So it will be optional. So when you are in edit mode, add mode, I'm not passing any prop. So only during edit we are passing. So it will be optional and it will be boolean. And this I can use it here. React.fc. Here I can use that particular. Now I can accept this is edit directly. So if you are not aware of how to work with TypeScript, you can check out the link in the description to learn React plus TypeScript from scratch. So if you are not aware of this or if you are getting confused, I highly recommend to check out the linked article in the description. Now by default, we will set it to false. So when we don't provide, it will be false. So again, I will use container. Let's import it from React Bootstrap. Make sure you are correctly importing from React Bootstrap and not Lucid React. So that is very important. Otherwise, it will not work. And let's also give some classes. So I can say class name equal to padding y4. So the same class we used in the user list. So the height will be exactly same. We will not have some extra padding. Container y, this is extra added. Let's save this. And here I will add a row, which is again from React Bootstrap. And inside it, we'll add a column. And for row, let's give some classes. Justify, contain, center. So I want that form to be in the center. And for this column, let's give large equal to 8. So we have 12 column grid, so it will be center line with the 8 columns. Now here, let's use the card. Let's format this. And let's add shadow. So we have shadow class in the bootstrap. So it will add some shadow effect. And here I can say card.header. And for this header, let's use some classes. So I can say EG primary, text white, and inside it will display H3. What we want to display. So if it's edit user, so when I click on this, I want to display this edit user text. So here I can check if this is edit is true, then I can say edit user. Otherwise, I can say add new user. So that's why it's important to assign a default value. If you don't pass, so during add user, we are not passing any prop. So it will be undefined. So in that case, false will be used and it will display this add new user text. So let's add some classes here. You can say margin bottom, let's say 0. Now this card header is done. Let's work on the card body. So inside the body, we'll display the form. So we'll be using, so first import this React Bootstrap. So make sure you are importing form from React Bootstrap. And for this, we'll be using React Hook form, which is the most popular library for working with forms. So we have already seen, let me show you how to use it. So once you go to the website, you can click on this get started. It's very easy to use and it's the most popular. It's good from performance point of view because it uses refs, not state. So you will get faster performance. And to use this, you just need to use this use form hook. So let me copy this and we can use it here. Now we can use this use form hook. I will remove this, we'll add it later. So this hook is the main hook to work with the forms and it returns a couple of things. So this is custom hook, so it returns register on submit, watch we don't need. So for this particular form, let's add on submit handler. So we need to pass the on submit. So I will create a handle submit method. And here I say on submit. So if you check the documentation here also you will say, so this handle submit is already coming from use form hook. So for that you need to pass your own custom on submit method. So this will handle your submission. So I'll add this on submit, remove this extra code. Now here, so we'll add this, or for now I'll say any, we'll change that later. Now inside this form, what we need. So I'll add a row here, column, let's say column for medium and above, it will be 6 columns. 12 divided by 6 means so 2 columns in every row. So now I will use form dot group. So whenever you are using form, so if you are going to React Bootstrap, how to use forms? So form dot group, all these are Bootstrap component, React Bootstrap. So if I go to forms, you can see you need to use form dot group, form dot label. So everything is component based. So we are using the exact same thing here. So form dot group, let's add some class name of margin bottom 3. And here I can say form dot label. So every form input, you should have a label, which is good for accessibility point of view. And I can say control. So input, whatever control input you want to add, you need to give control. So this will be self-closing. I don't want to open and close. So here I can say type equal to text. So you can give anything, type password or like that. So if you go to now, what is this particular route? So this particular use form we are using inside the add user. And how to access add user? So if I go to here, we have slash add route. So if I access slash add, we'll see that add new user form is getting. If you see that content is not centered because this is justify content center. I think we added something. Yeah, now you can see it's correctly displayed. And the text should be white, so it will be text white. So now it's looking better. Now similarly, we can add other fields also. So we'll duplicate this, and here we'll say email. Input type equal to email. So if you see here, medium and above 6. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. So each row will have 2 columns only. So I will add one more row here. So if you see here now, you can see you correctly have 2 rows, 2 columns in single row. So here I will add a font, and this will be city. Now you can see you correctly see this. Also, let's add placeholder here. Enter username. So this will be our placeholder. Enter email. And for phone number, enter city, and this will be type will be text, not email. This is also text. For phone number, we can give type of TEL, telephone. So when you are browsing on mobile device, you will get the keypad which is related to digits only. So telephone number to type in the telephone number. Let's take the final application. So when I click, you can see phone number. We have 2 columns here on each row, but for the last row, we have 3 columns. So here we need to add one more row. Inside it, let's close this. Let's add call. And this time we can give MD equal to 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we'll have 3 columns in each row for the last row. So here I can say, let's copy this from group. So here I can say state, input type equal to text, enter state. Let's add one more column. Here I can say street number. So this should be type number. So if you see the users list, here the street number is number. It's not in double quote. So make sure you are typing it in number. Now let's duplicate it one more time. Here I can say street name, enter street number, enter street name. And this will be type text. Only street number is type number. All others are text. Now after that we need these buttons cancel and add user. After this row I will add a new div. And here let's use some classes. Class name equal to display flex, so they will be side by side. Gap between them will be 2 and justify content end. So we want it at the end of the row. And here I can add a button from React also. So display variant equal to secondary, so it will be grayish color. And here we can say cancel. Similarly, we can add a button with variant equal to primary, which is blue color. So during add, the text is add user. If I click on edit, its text is update user. So again, we can use that condition here. I can say is edit, then update user. Otherwise, add user. Now, if you check, you can see we correctly see this cancel and add user. Now, on click of cancel, I want to go to the home page. So let's add that on click handler. So how do we go back to any of the component? So for that, we are already using routing. So I can use navigate equal to use navigate from React router. And we can directly call this navigate to slash root. So on click of this, we are redirecting to slash root. What is slash root? Slash root or route is this particular user list component. So when I click on this, when I click on cancel, we will be redirected to the dashboard. I can again click here, add new user, and I can go to that particular. So let's link this add new user. Right now we have not linked, so we have to go to the direct URL to access that particular route. So inside the list, we have this add new user button. So this is the actual button. Let's add on click handler. And here again we need to use navigate. The navigate hook from React router down. You can say navigate to slash add. Save this. So when I click on add new user, you can see we are automatically redirected to the add page. And once I click on this, I want to display error messages. So right now, if I go into final application, click on this, we can see we are getting these error messages. How these are coming? So for that, we are using dot validation. For that, first we need to link these React hook forms. So all these input fields, we need to link or register using React hook form. So for every input field that we have added, you need to spread out register and give unique name. What is this? This is a name. So I will give unique name of name. So I will give it for every input field. So it will be email. Make sure you give unique name. So React hook form will be able to validate that or link it properly. Here I will give city. This will be state. Street number. Street name. So if you have multiple words, you can make it camel case. Now, when I click on this, you can see we don't have anything yet. So nothing is happening. Why nothing is happening? Because we are not using the errors properly. So if I console.log errors and open console, let me open console here. So if I refresh initially, that errors object is empty. But now when I click on add user, you can see nothing is happening. Why nothing is happening? So we have this particular form, and this form, for this form, we have buttons. But by default, these are type buttons. These are not submit buttons. So you need to manually say type is submit. So only when type is submit, the form will get submitted. So now when I click on add user, you can see the form is getting submitted and you don't have any data entered here. So if I say Mike, click on add user, you can see name Mike is there. Data is coming. So from where this is coming? Line number 18. So where is line number 18? Where we are printing it. So we are getting that data, but we are not getting any error message because we have not said that I want this to be required field. To add that validation, we need to use the Zod library. So let me check if we have installed that. Zod, yes. So we have already installed. So we just need to integrate this with React hook forms. So for that, we need to use add hook form slash resolvers. So this is the npm package we need to install. So let me install this. So let's copy this. So all types of resolvers, you validation you want to add. So all these you can add it from this particular package. So I can install this hook form resolver. So make sure you have to install this. You know that you need to install. This does not come with React hook form. You need to install this separately. Now let's define the validation schema. So for that we can say user schema z which is from Zod. So let's import that from Zod. There is a simple object. You can say it's coming. So z dot object. We have this input field. So what is the name of the input field? So you have to give the exact same name that you have given for register. So name, email, phone, city, state, street number, n is capital, and street name again n is capital. So here I will use name. Name is a string, so I can say z dot string. I want minimum 2 characters. I can say name must be at least 2 characters. So this is the error message that will get displayed if I don't enter that minimum length. So this will be email. Email is also string, but here it will be of type email. So it will add that email validation. You don't have to manually add any regular expression. By just adding this email, it will be considered as email. You don't need 2 parameters. And here I can say invalid email address. Here phone number. So we want 10-digit phone number. So we have separate validation for phone number. You can see you can either enter 10 digit or you can enter in this particular format. But this format also has 10 digit, 3, 3, and 4. So we need to provide both the conditions. So both the validation we need to provide. So for this we can say z dot string dot regex. So we can specify regular expression here. So here I can say slash start with. So I can say start with digits, 10 digits. So it will have 10 digits or it will have those brackets. So I'll say not add spaces here. You can say bracket and then after that inside that bracket I will have 3 digits again. I will explain it again later. So let's first write it. D and then hyphen D4 and here I can say dollar the phone number must be either 10 digits or format 555. You can use any number here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What we are saying? So we are saying here regular expression starts with. So this beginning character symbol means starts with 10 digits. So it should have either entire 10 digits or it should have a bracket, opening bracket. So we are saying slash means literally I want that opening bracket. And inside that I want 3 digits. Again closing bracket. Then I want 1 space. Then again I want 3 digits. Then hyphen. Then again 4 digits. So if it is not following that particular expression, we'll display this error. Now let's add for city. So let me bring this here. I'll say city. City will be string and it will be a minimum. Let's say minimum of 2 characters. If it is not, then I can say city must be at least 2 characters. Then similarly for state, state must be at least 2 characters. Street name will also be 2 characters. Then we have street number. Number is optional, so we can just say z.string dot optional. So we don't have to provide the street number. You can see we are not getting any validation error for street number. This is the final application. So we don't want any validation for street number because not every address has a street number. So I have made that optional. So this is the user schema. From that, if I mouse over, you can see you get the entire object structure of this particular schema. So what you can do is you can define the type that you can use with the React hook form. So I can say user form data equal to z dot infer. So we can infer the type, and here I can say type of user schema. If I mouse over this, you can see you get the TypeScript type. So if I mouse over here, this is Zord type, which is not useful. But if I use this infer syntax, you can see now we are getting exact TypeScript type. It's optional, street number is optional, and these are required string type. So we can directly use this user schema, user form data directly inside this particular use form hook. So where is our use form here? So here I can use that use form data. Now this will be validated, and here we need to add one more thing. We need to say resolver. This is important. So if you don't add this resolver, we need to specify that use that Zord resolver. So we can say Zord resolver. You need to make sure you are importing this. So make sure you are importing this from this form resolver slash Zord. So here for Zord resolver, we need to pass that user schema. So for this dot resolver, we pass the user schema. So this schema we pass, and this user form data we are passing to the user form. This is important. Otherwise, you will get TypeScript errors. So now with this dot resolver added, let's verify. So I will refresh and let's open console. So initially, if we refresh, you can see the error subject is empty. Now let me clear, and I will click on add user. You can see now this first input field is automatically highlighted, and we have error subject which contains all the validation errors that we have. So whatever error messages we have mentioned are available. Now we just need to display these error messages on the UI. So user will know that there are some errors. So let's go to each of the input field. So based on the value that we have given for the register field. So for the register, what we have given name, email, phone, street number. So based on that name, we get error message. So inside that property, so errors.city.message will print that error message. Similarly, errors dot let's say street name dot message. So we need to display error message for each of the input field. So just below this form input control, what we'll do is we'll add error message. So I can say errors dot name. So you can see we get auto suggestion because we are using type. So if there is a name property available, that means we have errors. So here I can declare a div. So instead of paragraph, let's make it div. And here we can say errors dot name dot message. So that is the actual error message we have written. So that is the coming from here, whatever we have given for dot validation. Now let's give some styling. So it will be displayed like a error message. So I'll say error text. So let's see if it's coming. You can see now we are correctly getting this message, but we need to be in the red color. So, but it needs to be in the red color. Name must be at least. So I think there is some spacing required. Must be at least. Yeah, all others are fine. So now we need to display this in red color. So let's go to the CSS, and we don't need all of these. So let me delete everything because we are using Bootstrap. So automatically all styling will be removed, and I will add this particular class. So we are displaying this red color, and we have given some specific size. So let me refresh. We can see we are not able to see that message. That might be because we have not imported that CSS. So let's go to main, and here we can import that here dot slash, which is our file index.css. So whenever you are using Bootstrap CSS and your own CSS, always make sure to have Bootstrap CSS imported first. This is very important. So you can override the classes which are available in Bootstrap. If you add it later, what will happen is your classes will get overridden by Bootstrap class. So always make sure to have index.css, your own CSS file later after Bootstrap import. So let me save this, and now we can try it again. You can see now it correctly displays. Now if you see the final application, we also highlight this particular input box. There is also an exclamation mark icon. So how to get that? So if you see the React Bootstrap validation documentation, you can see there is valid and is invalid props that we can use. So whatever form we have, for that we can add is valid or is invalid. So if I add is valid, so let me show you. So here if I add is valid equal to true, then it will become a green icon. So if I refresh this and click on this, you can see green box is displayed border and there is a check box. I don't want that. Whenever there is error, I want to display is invalid. So this is invalid, I need to display. So instead of this, I need to use is invalid and I need to manually or conditionally display that or add that input field, either true or false. So based on this particular property, if errors dot name exists, I can say not errors dot name. So this double exclamation mark is used to convert any value into its boolean. So either true or false. So no matter what value you have, object, string, null, it will be always converted to boolean when you use double exclamation mark. So if there is a property, then it will become true. If there is no property, then it will become false. So now you can see it correctly highlight that particular section. So whenever we want to display error message, you just use this is invalid prop and whatever property we have. So if it exists, then it will become true. So when it's true, you will see that border around that input field. So let's copy this. So here it will be errors.email. I'll paste it here. Make sure you correctly replace that, otherwise you will get different error message. And we'll add that invalid field later. So this will be phone. This will be city. This will be state. Here we will have street number. This will be street name. So make sure you add it inside form group just after this input field. So now we have added all of this. Now the error message will display, but we need to add this is invalid prop. So let's copy that and we'll add it to every input field. So I'll just say, so let's add it manually. So here I can say errors.email. Let's copy this, I'll paste it everywhere, and then we'll change. So this will be street name. So only if there is that particular property exists, then we'll get that error message. And that input field will be highlighted. Now you can see all these input fields are highlighted. Here you are able to see because that is the first input. If I make this, you can see now the error message goes away. So as soon as the validation is correct, like name must be two characters. So when I enter two characters, we correct have that validation invalid field is removed. Similarly, this is invalid email address, so I can enter correct email address. CO, you can see we need at least two characters and then it will become valid email. So you can see this is not getting removed because this should be errors.email. So make sure you correctly replace this. City will be this. Otherwise, your state will not update. Street number. This will be street name. This is also. Now, if I enter a phone number, let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can see 10 digits as soon as I enter, the validation is valid. Or I can also enter in this particular format. So let me copy this and paste it here. You can see this is valid. If I enter any extra space or remove this space, you will get error because that is not as per the validation regex we added there. So here, you can see it automatically validates that. So I can say New York, street number. This is not required, so you can keep it empty. I'll say New York, city, New York. So all these fields are entered. Now I can click on add user. You can see now you get all these input fields. So we have not entered street number, we don't get. Otherwise, all the input fields, whatever we have entered, are present. Let me enter street number also, add user. Now you can see we get street number also and all other input fields. So we are successfully able to integrate React to form with Zod validation. So let me recap here. So we need to first import Zod, Z from Zod. Then we need to define our schema for each of the input field. Also make sure this property, the name that you have given has to exactly match with the register name that you have given. So if I am using here city, I have to call it city only. If I use cities, then if I save and if I try to refresh and click on add user, you can see for city invalidation is not coming. So every property that you have mentioned has to exactly match and you need to add this resolver, then only it will work. Otherwise, your Zod resolver will not be connected to the React form. So you need to manually add these error messages here itself. So you can do that. So if you want to learn how to use React from scratch with the different external libraries also, you can check out the link in the description where I have entire article which covers everything you need to know about React. Now we have all these validation. We need to now add this particular user in the list of users. So for that, let's go to the store, user store. So this is use user store. Now we have this action add users. So here what we need. So we need that particular user to add. So here we can add code to set these particular users property. So how do we set? So we can use the set function, which is automatically available here. And I can call this set. So for this set, I need to set the users property. And I also need to retain the previously added users. So I will create a new array, spread out already available users, and then I will add the new user. So what is the new user I'm getting? I will directly add that. So this is an object. So we'll be passing this. So you will know how to do that. But if you see, we are getting this error explicit type in because we are using TypeScript. So whenever we are using TypeScript, we need to define type of data that we are storing. So what is the type of users? So you can see it automatically gives. So you need to write this particular type. So let me copy this and I will create a new type. So inside src, I will create types.ts and here I will say interface user. I will paste this. So this is individual user. So save this. So this individual user that I will export. You can also use type. So let's use type to be consistent everywhere. We'll export it. So now we have this user that we are exporting. Now here inside the use users store, we can define type here. So after this create, you can add these angle brackets and I can say user array. So if you see, we are getting this error. Why we are getting error? Because we are saying this is an object with users property. So this is not a correct way. So here we can define type users store equal to, and here you can say users property and whose type will be array of user. So now user store, I can use it here. Now you can see that error is gone. Now this user, what is the type of this particular user? It's again saying has any type. So you can explicitly say that its type is user because we already know users is an array with this particular type. So now this correctly identifies that in user type and we don't have any warning. So make sure you understand this is an object. We are returning object from this store and this object has users property. That's why we have defined a type with users property and this users is an array. An individual object is of this particular type. So ID, name, location, all of it. So now we have this. You can see it automatically adds the type. So we are importing from this particular type and you need to add this type. So if you don't add, you will get this error. So make sure while importing, you check all these things. So you can see user is a type and must be imported from type only import. So if you are exporting some type from any of the file, you need to specifically say that this is the type that you are importing. Then you will not get this error. So what we are doing now here, so whenever adding users, we already have those users, those are spread out, and then we are adding a user. Now we just need to call this function add user whenever by passing that actual user object. So whenever we submit, so let's submit here. So let me add all of these details. When I click on this, we have this entire object. This object will be adding. So you can see this is an object and we have already available users. So if I console.log, so let me log users here. We have this users array. So I will store this as a global variable. I am creating an array by spreading out already added users, which is temp1, and I am adding a new user object. So what is that object? Let me create that again. So it's a New York again, New York. So now when I click on add user, you get this particular object. So I will copy this. I will say store as a global variable, click outside. Now we have temp2. Temp2 is this particular object. So I will add temp2. So this is exactly what we are doing. So we are creating new array by spreading out all the properties and then we are adding that object. So if I enter here, you can see you get all these already added 8 objects and then we are adding it. But actually I want to add this at the top. So first it should be added. So I can see it added at the top whenever we go back to the list. So what I will do is I will spread out later. I will add this user first and then I will spread out the users. These users we already have. So one thing you need to remember, this is directly imported. That's why you are able to access this user. But if it's not imported directly, you don't have access to this user's property. So if I comment this out, you don't have direct access to this user's property. You need to use the get function. So let's use that way. That is the actual correct way. So here you can use get dot users. So this will give you the actual users, and let me import that. So this will exactly work. So let me, now we can call this get users function. So inside this form, here I can add that code. So if it's not is edit, that means it's not in edit mode, then add user. Otherwise, I can say update user. So during add, we can call this add users. How to get this add users? We are already exporting this use user store. So we can do one more thing. So we have seen already auto-generated selector. So instead of importing these actions and properties one by one, we can see use those auto-generating selectors. So let's copy this, create selectors, and I will create that. So it's always good practice to create selectors dot ts. So I will paste everything and I can export. Export default create selector. Now we are getting this warning because we are using this any, but that's fine. So what I will do is I will quick fix disable this for entire file. Now we'll not have that error. So here also we need this type. We can see even the documentation we are getting this error. So make sure you are adding this type. And now this create selectors is available. So here I can export. You can say export users selector. And here I can use that create selector, import it, and I can pass this user export const. Now I can use this user selector. So wherever I want to use that or get any property from store, I can use that. So I will use it here. User selector dot use dot whatever property I want to use. I want to use users, or I want to use this particular add users function. You can use that. Add users. And I can say add users. So I will call this add users by passing whatever data I have. So this is the data object, entire object we have. And we know that this object is of type user. So we can specifically say that its type is user. We can see we are getting this error, add users does not exist on this type. Why we are getting? We already have this, so it's there, right? But we have specified its type is user store, but it does not have that property. So whatever functions you create, you need to define them here again. So it's a function which accepts user, which is of type user, and it does not return anything. Similarly, for update user, we'll add for now, and it does not return anything. So you can see TypeScript helps you to find out errors. So it does tells you that there is no such property because you have not told that you need to add this property. Now if I go here, you can see we don't have that error. So whatever store you are using, you need to declare all of these property that you have, actions you have inside this particular interface or type you are using. So now we have these add users we are calling, and then what we need to do? So we need to redirect user back to the list page. So I can say navigate flag is the route. So now let's see if it works. So let's refresh. So here I will add. So let's first click on cancel and we'll go here. You can see there is no user with the mic name. You can see we have 8 users available. So let me click on add now new user. I will add mic. Let's click on this. So you can see you get this error message because we are using type email. It's in New York, 123, New York, and I'll click on add user. we can see we are getting error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading street on line number 71. So here we are trying to access user.location.street.number. But whatever data we are getting, we are not having that location property. So if I add this console.log and let's refresh this page, let's try to add the user again. So you will understand what's happening. So always try to debug whenever something is not working, why something is not working. So you will better understand how to write this code. So if I click on add user, you can see this is our data object that we are printing. So it does not have the location property. So we are looping over that entire array and we are displaying this users list. But in that users list, what is the expected users array? So expected users should have a location property, street, location property, city, state, street number, and name. So we need to create this particular format. So while adding this data, what we are adding? We are adding everything directly. So what we can do, we can create that particular structure. So we need to create data in this particular format. So what will be the ID? So we can use some random ID. So I can say crypto dot random UUID. So instead of using UUID npm package, you can also use crypto dot random UUID, which is available by default. So you don't need to import or install anything. So this will give you ID. Now data dot name will give you that actually name. So this is the object that we are getting. So data dot name is this name, then location city. City will be data dot city. State will be data dot state and street will be data dot street. So if you see street is coming as a street name and street number. So this is street number. And data dot street name. So this is the street name. So you can see we are getting this error because this type is wrong actually. Instead of user, it should be user form data. So this is not user, this is user form data. Now you can see we are not getting error. So what is user form data? It has all these property. We don't want that user. So user is the object with that location property. You can see location city, which we don't want. So we want this user form data and we are not getting any error. So now this is the actual user that will be entering. So here also we need to use data.email, data.phone. So all these fields are coming from here, phone and email. So now this is the actual user that will be passing here. Now it will have location property, location.street.number. So you will not get error like this, cannot read properties of reading street. So here we are getting error type string or undefined is not assignable to number. So we have said that that type, whatever you have, where is this user type? So this type is coming as a number. So this is what we define. But when you accept anything from the input box, it always comes as a string. And we have said that this type is optional. So if you check the form, let's go back to the form. This street number, we are saying it as optional. So it does not match with this type. Type is also different and it's also saying that it's coming as undefined. So which is not correct. So what you can do is while defining this type, we can make this number as optional. So it will be a number, but it will be an optional. And now if I go back here, now let's see what errors we have. So string or undefined is not assignable. This street number is optional. So this property will not be available all the time. So user don't need to provide this property all the time. So it's saying that street or undefined. So it can be undefined. We want to conditionally add this property and its type has to be number, not a string. So whenever we take any data from the input field, it's always in the string form. So how can we add optionally this particular property? So for that, we can use spread operator. So in spread operator, we can say if data dot street number exists, then only create an object with the property of street number, property of number, and here give the value of parsing data dot street number amount 10. So what we are saying, so we are spreading out this particular property. So we are saying if data dot street number exists, then only spread out this object with the number property and whose value will come from this particular value which is converted to number format instead of string. So let me show you here. So if you are getting confused, this is a better way if you want to conditionally add any property. So I have this user object, let's say name Mike, and I want to conditionally add age property if it exists. So now let's say I want to add age property. So let's say age is 10 or 20. So if it exists, I want to add it. So what I can do is I can spread out user. I can spread out age. If it age exists, then let me close this properly. So if it exists, then what I will do, I will add age property whose value will come from age. So if I enter, you can see now age is getting added. But if age does not exist, let's say age equal to empty or it's undefined. So if I try this, you can see age does not exist. So that's how we can add conditionally any of the property. Now we don't have any error here. You can see this is completely working. So number is either number type or it will be undefined. So we have optional chaining here. And we have question mark here. That means it's an optional property. You don't have to always add. So this is very important. Whenever you are writing TypeScript code, you will get these type of errors. You need to understand what is happening. So let me bring that back. So I will comment it out. So we are having this code, and what error we were getting? Type string or undefined is not assignable to number or undefined. So it's not assignable to number. That means it needs to be number, and it's by default coming as undefined. So you need to check whether it's undefined or not. So we need to add this conditional. So let me remove this and bring this back. By just adding this, now we don't have that error. So this is how you can add these types. TypeScript is very important. It helps you to identify future bugs. So it knows that you have said that it's undefined, it's optional, but you are trying to add that. So that is not correct. So now let's refresh this page and let's go to the home page first. So we have these errors, not here. So let's go to home page now. And here, let's try to add a user. So I can say Mike at example.com. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yeah. Right click on add user. You can see Mike is successfully added. So data is in this particular format. Now we have converted to this particular format, which is actual users array. So whatever users array, it needs to have this particular format. So we can add that particular object inside this. And whenever we add any data inside this using store, so we are calling this and we are calling the set method. And currently added users, we are adding it later. And first we are adding the user that we are adding. So you can see the mic is displayed first and then other users are displayed because we are spreading it later and adding the current user first. So this is how you can add a user. You can change also, will implement that edit functionality later. But there is one more thing you need to remember. So we have added this, but this is inside the store. So if we refresh this page, this will again set it to default user. So if you see, it will again set it to default user. So let me refresh this page. You can see now user is gone. So we are not persisting this data. So how can we persist this data so it will not be removed on page refresh? So for that we can use the persist method, which is a middleware. So inside this particular function that we are passing to create, we can parse a persist function, which is coming from Zustand/middleware. Now for this particular function, we pass our own setGet function. Now, if we save this, you can see you are getting this error. So why this error is coming? So whenever you are using TypeScript, we'll create like this with single bracket. So let me go back. So I will show you again. So this was our code. Whenever you are using persist, you need to add one more round bracket here. Most developers don't understand why this extra bracket is added. So sometimes you will see that there is extra bracket, sometimes it's not there. So if you are using TypeScript, you have to add this extra bracket if you are using some middleware. So you can go to the documentation. So inside the Zustand documentation, you can see there is a TypeScript guide which clearly mentions you need extra parenthesis. You can see there is extra parenthesis. So if you are using TypeScript, you need to add these extra parenthesis. So if you are using middleware, some middleware, it's important. So why we need this is specifically for workaround around this TypeScript issue. So you can read this article so you will understand why we need this. But whenever you are using TypeScript, always make sure to have some extra curly bracket, a square bracket here, round bracket, and then you can add whatever code. So this will not give you any error. But when you are using persist, you have to add that extra bracket. So now I will add persist here, and inside that function, I will add this setGet. So let me import this persist. And now if you mouse over, you can see it, we are getting error expected 2 arguments but got 1. So whenever we are persisting, what it does, it's persist your data in the local storage. So whatever local storage we have in our application, like in browser, We have this application tab where we have local storage. So all the data will be persisted inside local storage, but we need to specify what is the name of the property under which that data will be stored. So for this persist function, this is the closing bracket, and here you need to add one more parameter with the name. So if I do control space, you can see you need a name property. I will name it users. Now you can see you are not getting error. So for persist, you need two arguments. First is this particular function that you are passing, and as well as this particular second object with name property that you are setting. It also accepts a couple of more arguments, so we'll see that later. But it's very important. This extra round bracket is very important. If you don't add this when you are using middleware like persist, you will get this error, and you will not understand why this error is coming. So this is difficult to understand what's going on. So whenever you are using TypeScript and you are using create method, always make sure to add this extra round bracket even if you are not using persist. So later if you try to use persist, or there is one more DevTools middleware that we are using, then you will not get such type of error. So now if I refresh, initially in the local storage, you will not see any data. Let's add that user again. So I will click on add user. You can see now this user is added at the beginning. Also, we have this user property in the local storage, and it contains all our state information. So whatever users we have, 8 users, and this particular ID that is dynamically generated. So this name is available. So this is the user that is available. So even if you refresh now, you will not lose that data. So even if you refresh or you close this and again open this, you will still have that information available because we are reading from the local storage. So Zustand does that magic. So you don't need to manually store that in local storage, read it from local storage. Zustand does it for you. That is a very good feature added by Zustand. So it's also available if you are using Redux toolkit. You can also do that. But here you can just do that using a single function. Just say persist and pass your store that you have created, give some name, and it will automatically persist in your local store. So no matter when you refresh, it will always be available. So that's how you can add a new user, create a form, add a new user, and that is displayed on the users list page. You can see this is exactly same format. So whatever we are adding.